Well, hello there, my darlings, and welcome back to another little episode of WARFRAME. And today, as you can see on the screen, we are taking the deepest of dives into the Railjack within WARFRAME. Don't know how you feel about it. Never been a big Railjacker across the universe, always going forward because I can't find reverse kind of player, but I'm here for you. So my darlings, there's a lot of information to cram in. I'm not going to talk about the mission types. We'll do that in a different video. And I have chaptered up this video for your ease. So you can dive in, see what I did there, or dive out, or just skip to the bit you need. Or if you just love my dulcet tones and my company, you'll watch the whole thing because you're a good viewer. And that being said, would you consider dropping me a like, comment, and or sub, because that is the easiest way to show your support to a teeny tiny little YouTuber like me who's doing it the hard way. My darlings, thank you for your support. In the meantime, let's get into it. So to do Railjack missions, you're going to need a Railjack. I know, hilarious, right? So head to your market and buy one for 175 plat. I'm joking. Why would you do it? You can do instead, like most sane people, the Rising Tide quest. This introduces you to Cephalon Psi, and it also rewards you, I know, crazy, with a Railjack, right? Useful. And to access your Railjack, you can use the Plexus, which is between your syndicate station and your navigation in your orbiter. The way that you get the Plexus, if you don't have it, is by completing the Arkwing quest. And the Plexus is basically a modding station for your Railjack. We'll get into that in a moment. And it's also a way to manage your Intrinsics. Again, we'll get to that in a moment. But the main way to access your Railjack is from the dry dock at your friendly clan dojo, or you can access the dry docks from any relay. And what you have here that you don't have on your Plexus is a research station and a configure Railjack station. So you can go into a lot more detail here and set yourself up for your journeys in space. And we're going to go into that detail in a mo. And I just wanted to go over briefly the rewards that you can get from doing Railjack missions, in case you're wondering why the hell we're coming here. These items, it's changed a little bit and it's a bit hazy on the WARFRAME wiki and the internet, but you can get them elsewhere in the game now. A lot of them, not all of them, some of them are exclusive to Railjack missions, but you can get components for the Ash WARFRAME, Sevagoth WARFRAME, Oberon WARFRAME. We'll go over specifically where in another episode where we look at the mission types. You can get component parts for the Epitaph, the Ambassador weapons. The Ambassador does drop from other missions within the game, and Nautilus Companion drops from these types of missions. Corrupted Hollow Keys from specific missions. Corrupted Hollow Keys you can use to buy up to 5 different Tenet melee weapons from Ergoglast at the parent sequence on relays for 40 Corrupted Hollow Keys each. You also get a lot of Endo from these missions, and the scrap, the wreckage we'll look into, you can sell that for Endo as well. And you're going to earn Intrinsics to rank up your intrinsic tree, which will benefit you in other places of the game. Again, we're going to go over it in more detail in a moment. So let's look at this in more detail. So we've headed back to the dry dock. We're at our configuration station. And as you can see, we've got all these options across the top. And we have a components option, which is basically your shield, engines, plating, and reactors. We'll look at those in more details in a moment. You've got your armaments, which are your weapon types. You've got your upgrades, which is your modding, essentially, which you can access through the Plexus in your Orbiter 2. Your intrinsics, which we're going to want to rank up to improve the situation. Your crew, we'll talk about those in a moment, and your customization. And now over here to the right, we have scrap and recovered wreckage, and basically this is where you're going to pick up stuff throughout your missions, and we're going to balance scrapping this wreckage, inspecting this wreckage, repairing it, and using it eventually. And we'll go over that again in more detail in a moment. There's your quick overview of your options at your Railjack configuration station of the nation. So what's going on here? What's this all about? Basically, you have this crappy Railjack build. It's a brand new Railjack. You need to improve upon it. And you can do that by either going to your research station next to your configuration station on your dry dock and buying these blueprints and building them, much like you would in any of the labs in the dojo where you're building weapon blueprints, etc., and then install them into your Railjack and slowly improve and go off and do missions that way. And then when you're doing missions, you will pick up various parts. Now, As you can see, we have Mark 1, 2 and 3 here, 3 being the top tier, and there are certain types of blueprints that won't drop, or wreckage that won't drop. You can only get Sigma, for instance, from this research lab. You won't be able to get it in missions, but you have kind of better versions of the same thing, whether it be your armaments or your shields, etc., being dropped as wreckage in missions. And they're houses, so they're kind of like a type. You've got Lavan, Vidar, Zekti, and if you focus in on the really good ones for the really good builds, you'll eventually get quite a good Railjack going on. Now, it takes a while, and some things are crucial and some things aren't for a good build, and you'll just work towards it. There's no other way of getting them apart from doing the missions and getting those scrap wreckage parts that you're going to have to repair and then put into your Railjack, and we're going to have a look at that right now. So we're going to look at these 3 little buttons here, and you want to think of this as your foundry for your Railjack. So let's start on the right hand side, because this is your incoming wreckage. This is the stuff you're picking up inside missions. So here you see I've got Vidar engines Mark 3, Vidar plating Mark 3, Zekti plating of 2 of those, and if I click on these in here, I can sell it for the amount of endo that you see there. I can't do anything else with it in this wreckage. So if you look closely, we've got a big old question mark on it. It's actually tiny, and that just means we don't know what's going on with this piece of wreckage. So the only thing we can do with it in here is scrap it for endo. If you don't want to do that, come out of your wreckage slot and go to where that item is in your components. So if it's a shield or a plating, go and find it in your components, and it'll be sat there with a big old question mark on it. And all it's telling us is that we need to inspect it. So if you click on it, it brings up that inspection button, and you can still scrap it for endo at this point. But once you've clicked on inspect, it brings up a repair option, a scrap option, or just continue and ignore that you did this. It's absolutely fine. It'll just sit there inspected. The one important thing to note is now that you've inspected it, regardless of the choices you make now, it is now moved into the middle slot, our middle foundry slot. So it's not wreckage anymore. You've inspected it, and that inspection slot in the middle has a 30 limit cap, and it never increases, and that is to encourage you to either scrap or build things and use them and store them for future usage, or just use them and get rid of them, whatever. And we're going to look at like the optimum builds anyway. Now, once we've inspected it, as you can see, it's moved into that top slot. We've now got 1 out of 30 in there. That has moved in there. The question mark's gone, and now it's prompting us to repair it. So repairing means basically building this blueprint, let's say, a bit like in your foundry where you're building your component warframe blueprints, and you have to contribute components. These components I got mostly from doing Railjack missions. I know, I'm as shocked as you. And if you haven't got them all and you really want to build this, you can go off and do some Railjack missions and earn those pieces, come back, contribute. Now, once you start repairing something, much like building a blueprint, it takes 12 hours, or you can rush it using a platinum at this point to rush it, which is, well, in my opinion, a waste of platinum. Or before you start the build, you can use a repair drone if you have one. It will give you the option. I believe it was up on the screen before, because I do have one, if you happen to have one, and those repair drones are actually very hard to come by. And once 12 hours has passed, you come back to the same place, and as you can see, it now has a tick on it, which means it's repaired. So we can claim it. And once it's claimed, it moves from the inspected area, which is that scrap wreckage in the middle, over to the left, which is the claimed repaired items that we can now install upon our Railjack, the 16 out of 18. That actually starts, I think, with 8 slots. And if you really want to push the boat out, you can Valence fuse parts together. This basically increases their base stats. However, you can only Valence fuse the same part with another part. So the Zekti plating Mark III can only be Valence fused with Zekti plating Mark III. However, only one of them has to be repaired, and you will sacrifice the unrepaired part into your repaired part, and it basically boosts the stats. Now, if it's a Mark III part and it's not Sigma or plating, as we're looking at here, once you've Valence fused it and you've got your boost in base stats, you'll also get a special unique trait that you can choose from. And it's just basically another boost, another boon, a little special, a soupçon to encourage you to do the Valence fusion. And then you can install that part into the area that you need, whether it's your plating, your shields, etc. So that's something to look at, right? Unfortunately, I didn't have the parts to show you for the footage, but at this point, if I'd had enough of, what is it, Tycor plate, I would have been able to Valence fuse the Zekti plating with the pattern on it into my repaired piece that we just claimed. Okay, so let's deep dive, shall we? The Levan Shield Array Mark III seemed to be the one I saw the most being recommended. That's because it gives you apparently the largest shields, but the general consensus is that shields don't actually matter that much in your Railjack anyway, so it really doesn't matter. And when you Valence Fuse them, if you get 2 of them and you Valence Fuse them together, try converting energy spent into shields, because obviously that boosts your shields back up. But again, they're saying, like, don't worry about it too much. Just shove whatever shield array you can in for now and work up towards the Levan Shield Array Mark III. The engines next, and those control your speed, acceleration and turning speed, funnily enough. And it is recommended to go again for the Levan Mark III if you can, but I don't have that, so I've got the Vidar engines, which I think I've Valence Fused, the one that's in there. I'm not 100% certain, but it's not too shabby. And obviously Mark 1 is fine, Mark 2 is fine. You'll build up towards them. As you go through the higher level missions, you'll start picking up these higher Mark 3 parts. So don't stress too much about not having them right now. Work your way towards them. And the plating, that dictates your health and armor, and the Levan plating Mark III is recommended. And by the way, if you fuse the plating, you won't get a special unique trait option if you Valence Fuse it, but it will increase its base stats. Now, for the purposes of this video, I was working on the Zekti plating Mark III just to show you the process of, claiming, inspecting, building, repairing, Valence Fusing, but I will be sticking with my Levan plating Mark III because apparently it is recommended to be one of the best ones. And last but not least on the components list is the Reactor. Now, I've been calling it the Zekti Reactor, and I'm going to carry on calling it Zekti because I don't like saying Zetki. Anyway, that's the recommended one. Mark III obviously is going to be better, and they recommend choosing the Fire Hazard trait if you Valence Fuse it, which you should eventually. And there is a Warframe wiki. You can go and find all the stats if you so wish. Basically, I worked my way up through all the parts that I was getting. I repaired as many as I could because we're going to get into it in a minute. They give affinity, and affinity leads to intrinsics. So we'll get into that in a moment, but we're going to look at the armaments next. The big bada booms. So we have 2 types of turrets. The first one being the nose turret for the pilot, that's often you. The swivel turrets either side of the ship, which are your gunners, which are often your crew. And then the ordnance at the bottom there, the Tycho Seeker that you see, which just goes off and hones in on enemies for you. But we also have the Tunguska cannon. That's the big bada boom that takes down the cruise ships for you. But you can't do anything with that, so it's not available on this screen. So they do recommend using the Zetki house of weapons, so the Zetki Talon, as you can see, or the Zetki Lathe. I've got Mark IIIs because I've gone and collected them. Now, if I wanted to use the Talon in both of those turret slots, I'd have to have 2 of those weapons, and obviously if I want to Valence Fuse them, I'm going to have to get 4 of them. I'm going to have to claim them, inspect them, repair them, etc., and then Valence Fuse them. And as you can see, I've got a few variations here in my turret weapon options, and I've just used the Zekti Lathe and the Talion, but they also recommend the Zekti Photor is quite a good one, and you can tweak it for like your Grineer and Corpus type missions. Again, get into that later. And they do recommend the Tycho Seeker Mark III, and a lot of these Mark III sort of pieces drop from Veil Proxima missions, in case you were wondering how to get your grubby grommets on them. And brief interlude here, you may be wondering how the hell do I get all this high level stuff when I've got a crappy Railjack build, because I haven't got the high level stuff. You hop on someone else's Railjack that has a better Railjack, go and do the high level stuff on them, make sure they're the host of the squad, and that will help you. That's how I managed. Our lovely XXX Fluffers helped us. That being said, there is a link to my Discord. You will find very helpful people over there, including myself, and some of my YouTube members are over there too, and those lovely people have paid their hard-earned money to become either a fearless barbarian with this little picture that pops up next to the name, or a wolf barbarian, and this little picture pops up next to their names when they leave me comments on YouTube, which they do a lot of because they're gorgeous, and they have early access to my videos, and they get shout outs among other things, and they talk to me a lot on Discord, and their names are Tim Allen, Zyoka, Anomalous, and the beautiful lovely Hammy, our lovely Hamdalf, aka Coffee's Mug, my cheerleaders. Thank you so much for your support. Anyway, back to the Railjack. And let's have a look at the upgrades. The Plexus is basically your modding station for your Railjack, and it's divided into integrated mods, battle mods, and tactical mods. So you've got 3 pages per configuration to look at. And your integrated mods are basically the passive bonuses for players and squads. The second one, battle mods, is abilities, and that is further broken down into a defense mod, an offense mod, and a super stroke special mod. And then the tactical ones, nobody seems to care about them. In all the references I found, everyone's like, yeah, they're special abilities, but they're not as crucial. So nah. And I do have some builds to show you at the end that I gathered from thy internet. I don't know how good they are, but I've been using them and they seem to be doing okay. So next up, we're going to look at the intrinsics. What are they? Essentially, intrinsics points are needed to rank all these different things up that you see in front of you. Tactical, piloting, gunnery, engineering, and command. And these things, once you're ranking them up, improve your Railjack experience phenomenally. But they also improve things like your Archwing experience and your Necromech experiences, and being able to deploy crew members in missions. And it doesn't just apply to Railjack missions, it applies across the game. Now, to rank these things up, you are going to need 1023 intrinsics points for each school. So for gunnery, you're going to need 1023. Even though for rank 10 it's saying on my command I need to earn 512, I've already paid into it intrinsics points leading up to it. It doubles up for each rank. And in total, to get all of these up to rank 10, you're going to need 5,115 intrinsics all in. So it is recommended to try to level all of these up to rank 4 first, and then you'll definitely see and feel an improvement. Now, you might be saying, Coffee, honey, how the hell do I do that? You need intrinsics points. Now, intrinsics points are earned from gaining affinity within the Empyrean missions, the Railjack missions, and they are also boosted by things like repairing hull damage and killing boarding parties and enemies. It was also recommended on one website not to, when you get your crew members, not to put gunnery skilled crew members on your Railjack if you intend to be shooting things yourself with your piloting shooty bang bangs, because you are an affinity for shooting those things, whereas if your gunners do it for you, you don't. i.e. you potentially earn less affinity, ergo you earn less intrinsic points. See where we're going with this? I mean, just trial and error it, and it just keep chipping away at those missions and you'll earn those intrinsics eventually. But it takes a while, so don't be too pressed. Don't be like, I've got to get all 5,000 intrinsics in one weekend. Just chill, okay? You'll get there, I promise. And now let's take a look at crew members. So you're going to unlock the ability to hire crew members at rank 1 command once you've ranked up with your intrinsics, and then you're going to head to Venus, Fortuna, and to Ticker, where you can hire Railjack crew members. And these are linked to syndicates. So basically, if you're allied with a syndicate, it's going to cost you less. If you're not, it's going to cost you more. And it can cost credits or Railjack resources, and there are 3 sort of levels of competency points you can get. As you can see, they have piloting, gunnery, repair, combat, and endurance, and they're randomly applied across them, and it's either 8 points, 10 points, or 12. The 12 points comes from that elite crewmate option once you get to rank 10 command. So you hire your crew, and you can hire up to 3 crew member slots at first, but additional slots can be purchased with 20 plat, I think, up to a maximum of 33 crew member slots. I mean, that's just crazy. Alternatively, you can come back to Ticker and end the contract of a crew member that you might not want. It basically frees up a slot, and then you can hire a different kind of crew member if you wish. Basically, if you're changing your syndicate standing, who you're allied with, you can come back and change who you want, or if you're not happy with how you've put their competency points on them, because you will earn more competency points as you rank up your intrinsics, and then you can apply those points to your beloved crew members in areas maybe that they're weaker, or you might want to fully rank them up to 5 in gunnery, or whatever you want to do. And once you have your crew members, head back to your dry dock, and as you can see, you can edit them, you can tweak them. So we can change the crew members if you have more than 3. This happens to be one of my converted liches. Sat there, I could bring him out as part of my crew. You can change their appearance, make them look pretty, add all sorts of things to them to make them more unique. You can assign a role for your Railjack, and you can rejig their competency points here. So you can reset them and then reallocate any competency points they have. So I've made this one more of a combat and endurance crew member because I want him to be my on-call crew member as well. But I've set him to be a defender, and I set him to be on call, which means I can now, because I've unlocked that level on my command Intrinsics rank, bring this dude out in any other mission to help me out. And he happens to have, I think I'm going to give him one of my kit guns because it's pretty damn good. That's right, Squelcher. It makes a squelchy noise, what can I say? And he's going to help me muller everything in some missions. There you go, he's on call. And you can actually upgrade the weapon here. You can change the mods here if you wanted to as well. There's so many options. And they're kind of quirky. They've got their own little animations. And you might be here for some time just personalizing them and having fun with them. And speaking of customization, you can customize on this top right option here, your final option. You can customize your Railjack appearance. So you can customize the name here that appears on the side in glowing lights. You can change the color of those names as well. You can add glyphs if you have some glyphs available to you. You can get them with codes, some of them from the market. Might go over that in a separate episode. You can change the outward appearance with all these beautiful color options if you have them. You can also change the wear and tear appearance of the outside of your Railjack. You can also change the interior appearance of your Railjack, right, to match it or not match it. And as you can see, there are different skins for the Railjack that you can buy for quite a lot of plat. I have the TEMPESTARII skin. I'm guessing that's from the Rising Tide quest, I think. And this is the toggle interior option at the bottom right there. And again, you can just tweak the colors as you like them. You can change the color of the lighting, which I really like. I love a glowy light. I don't like these harsh fluorescents. No. And you can change also the wear and tear on the interior as well. So you could go for like a beaten up space kind of pirate ship, you know, if you wanted to. You can spend quite some time in here making it look pretty, or just how you want it to, which I think is awesome. So as promised, here are some mod configuration ideas. This was geared towards Grenier, and these are the integrated mods. There's a slot missing. I did shove something else in there because they recommended using this mod, conic nozzle, and I don't have it, so it's just a speed mod, and I'll get it eventually. No, all the mods you see here will just drop during your Railjack mission times, and if you go to the higher level or you piggyback, you'll pick them up a bit quicker. I haven't bought any of these. They literally have just turned up in my inventory as I've done these missions. And they do recommend changing your weapons for Grenier to Corpus to make life easier. So on this build, they recommend putting the Zekti Lathe in your pilot turret and the Zekti Talon in your gunners. I mean, it doesn't matter either way. And always the Tycho Seeker Mark III. I mean, Mark III is obviously recommended, but if you can get Mark 1, Mark 2 and work your way up, that's absolutely fine. So those were the mods for the Grenier build, and the Corpus ones I did actually test out, and it was so much better. It just was. Like, I don't know what all these mods do, but you can hover over them and have a look once you get them. But here you go. These are the mods to work towards for the Grenier. And this is the Corpus mod configuration that I found recommended, and they also recommend using in your nose turrets the Zekti Photor, and in the swivel turrets the Photor again, or the Talon, whatever you've got, but always Zetki. And the same with the Tycho, is always the Tycho Seeker in the Ordnance. They never seem to change it. And obviously if you can Valence Fuse them up, even better, because it just makes their base stats even more useful. Now, these are battle mods that we're looking at now. These are your abilities, a bit like your Warframe abilities. And you might be thinking, well, where does my energy pool come from? There doesn't seem to be any energy pool mods. There's things like regenerating shields and regenerating energy and stuff like that, I think. But where does it come from? Well, it comes from your Warframe. So it is recommended to use a Warframe that has a massive pool of energy, so you can keep popping your Railjack abilities when you're on your Railjack and piloting, etc. Or be very clever and use those kind of Warframes that don't need energy. So we're talking Hildrin or Hildrin Prime, because she relies on her shields, which you can set up to regenerate quite nicely. Or, as you saw at the beginning of the episode, Lavos, because he doesn't require energy at all, and he just sort of regenerates. You don't have to do any energy mods for him. So I actually found him incredibly useful. And if you don't have a Lavos and you really want one, he is tanky AF, and he is a really good Warframe. You need to head over to the Necrolisk and start ranking up with the Intrati family, because it is Father over there that sells Lavos's component blueprints. So there you go, highly recommend that. Now, I know you get Sevagoth and Nautilus from doing Railjack missions. I haven't actually tested or trialed Sevagoth during Railjack missions to see if it actually helps the Railjack in any way, but I've definitely used the Nautilus Prime, I think, with its Omni preset mod, and it's all working very nicely indeed. So there you go. Your Warframe energy pool is what dictates how many times you can pop these battle mods, these abilities on your Railjack. And it's kind of important when you're doing like when you're shooting a heck of a lot of enemies and you're being boarded and there's just, it's chaos. I kind of grown to like the Railjack missions, but I used to hate them, and that's again because I wasn't that good at it and my Railjack is a pile of poop. And now it's improving because I've dedicated some time and effort and energy into it. So there you go. And if you're not sure, you must head to your navigation. Doesn't matter where you are, whether you're a relay, your dojo, or your orbiter, head to navigation, press that button at the top right, and it brings up your Imperium, your Railjack star chart. And you can work your way across these nodes bit by bit, and the Void Storms are basically the Railjack version of a Void Relic mission. So you have like your fighting Railjack mission, and then inside that mission you'll have like a little extra thing like a survival that you've got to do, etc., to pick up your reactants. And or you can join any crew, as it says at the top there under Neptune Proxima, or you can just like go on a free roam and just fly around and do stuff. I haven't actually done the free roam myself. Let me know what that's all about. I tend to just hone in on trying to get the nodes done because I'm trying to work my way across the star chart, but also upgrade as I go. And what I'm going to do is some separate episodes on the types of missions over here, because even the ones that you might recognise still have the Railjack element to it. And there are extra little things in like the Corpus missions that we need to look at for picking up the special stuff. So if I put that all in this episode, it's going to be an hour or so long. So we're not going to do that. I just wanted to show you the basics of working on your Railjack and getting it to a point where you can actually go off and do these missions and not be too pressed and stressed out. Unlike me making this video, I can't tell you how pressed and stressed I've been, because I know no matter how thorough I've tried to be, I've probably missed something, or the mod configurations I've given you are a little bit out of date now or something. So if you're watching this and you don't agree with what I've suggested, I'm not telling anyone how to play the game. Feel free to leave a comment and just be like, oh, hey, yeah, no, this has changed since whatever you've read on the internet. You know, things do change. Things are like sometimes missed. There are boffins out there that kind of read between the lines and figure the shizzle out for the rest of us. So I rely on you guys to point those things out. You did it for the Moa episode, and I'm very grateful for just clarifying the odd thing, because I don't mean to mislead anyone, and I'm more than happy to have it corrected in the comments, my darlings. So, you know, thank you for your patience with me. I don't know everything in this game. I'm just trying to share with you my experience and make it like vaguely entertaining and useful, and maybe you like my dulcet tones. So that being said, this was like the Railjack basics. I hope it helps you in some way. I'm not going to tell you in this episode how to play Railjack missions. Again, we'll go over that separately. But I kind of started having a bit more of a blast because these builds made my life a teeny tiny bit easier. And I didn't play in a squad with anyone. I was just trying to make use of my crew members, but also rank up that affinity. And I don't know if I mentioned it, but all the weapons that you can collect and the parts that we can use, even if you don't like them, you're not going to use them, I think I would recommend using them once or twice and then discarding them, because it seemed to be that you could earn affinity from using the different component parts for your Railjack or for your component, like your armaments, etc. Because as I tried to scrap one that I hadn't used before, it said, are you sure you want to do this, because you haven't earned the affinity that you can earn from it yet? And I was like, oh, okay, I'll leave it then and maybe use it. But it's rubbish, so why would I want to do that? I don't know. Anyway, because I want the intrinsics. I want all of my rankings up to 10, all of my engineering and my command and everything, because I'm greedy and I want to collect everything. Anyway, if this video or any of my other videos have helped you or entertained you, or you just feel like a warm glow in the pit of your shriveled up, cold, dead heart, please drop me a like, comment and or sub, because you found your people, okay? We're cold and dead inside, but we're also warm and cozy and loving, okay? Come and find me on the Discord. Come and find your Warframers. Come and find your fellow gamers. It's not just Warframe. We're happy to have a go at anything over there. And in the meantime, I just want to say thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being here. I really do hope to see you again in the next one, no matter what it may be. But in the meantime, you take care now, and goodbye.